Air Canada is expected to ramp up flights today as the airline works to get back to a full schedule after a strike by flight attendants. Good afternoon. We begin at Pearson Airport, where there's some relief for Air Canada customers as the airline focuses on getting flights back in the air today. CTV Sean Leithong is at the airport with more from travelers. Sean.
Well, Nathan, Air Canada is expecting to have about 80% of their regular scheduled flights going out today. You can see behind me, things look like they are back to normal, but we are hearing some stories of people having a hard time as this ramp up filters through all those passengers who were stranded. Now, we do have some information about the contract that QP reached. We've been told it was a 4-year contract, and we got some new information. CTV has learned that the issue of ground pay will be covered at about 50% of the flight attendant's salary, and that'll be for 1 hour on a smaller plane before the plane takes off, and it'll be 70 minutes on a larger plane. That percentage of their salary will actually ramp up to 70% of their salary will be on ground pay. That's by the end of the 4-year deal, so by 2029. Now, focusing on what's happening today, because the strike is over, many passengers have been filtering through and talking about their experiences, but also a representative from Air Canada earlier talked about reimbursement programs that the airline will have for passengers who have been out of pocket, whether that be through another airline or having another mode of transport that they've had to take along their journey. But first, here's some passengers. Here's what they had to say.
On Friday, we flew from Paris, and while we were in the air over the Atlantic, they canceled our connecting flight to Saskatoon.
Yes.
And so we were stranded in Toronto for 5 nights.
Come on.
And now we're taking a flight to Regina, which was not our original destination, but close enough.
I have a friend in from out of town. We only had these 4 specific days. The flight was at 9:30 this morning, and I only found out at 8 o'clock last night that we could go ahead with the trip.
The reimbursement policy, it does vary by destination because of different regulations around the world, particularly in Europe and the UK. But the policy is really focused on alternative transportation. So if you needed to take a bus or you need to take a train to get to the next airport, we can help reimburse for that, as well as if you manage to book a flight on another airline that Air Canada wasn't able to do for you because maybe you couldn't get through to our contact center. So it's all about reasonable alternative transportation costs. But all of those details are on our website.
So while we are hearing from some customers who are finally getting out, there are also others who are finally coming home who have been stranded at other locations. And one of the subtle differences here at Pearson is that for the last number of days, there had been help desks set up helping direct customers who had had a difficult time. Those desks have since been cleared. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leithong. Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. And not long after flight attendants went on strike, Ottawa ordered them back to work under Section 107 of the Canada Labour Code. It's a controversial measure that gives the government the power to end work stoppages. It didn't go over well, though, with the union refusing to comply. CTV's Rachel Aiello now on what that defiance could mean for future labor disruptions.
The federal government moving so swiftly to try and force flight attendants back to work, and Air Canada stating it expected that move to be enforced, has riled up the organized labor movement, which is already predicting the way this dispute played out will be precedent-setting.
They were using this as a crutch, and over the weekend, the flight attendants made sure that that crutch snapped.
Workers' unions say they've been emboldened by the last 24 hours and flight attendants' ability to get a deal at the table after defying a federal arbitration order.
I very strongly hope that the message that this sends to employers and to our federal government is stay out of interference in collective bargaining and do not expect government to ride to your rescue.
The Liberal government has invoked Section 107 of the Canada Labour Code multiple times, including in recent port and rail strikes. But some Labour leaders hope the Air Canada instance was their last.
The message to parliamentarians is that this section of the Canada Labour Code has got to go.
Asked today if she was concerned that how this strike played out has laid the groundwork for Section 107 to no longer be a viable tool in future disputes, Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu's office wouldn't say.
I think what is going to happen over the next little while is Section 107 of the Canada Labour Code that some people argue has been abused in recent years by the federal government, is maybe hit a wall, and it's maybe there's going to be the brakes put on it. Because the only power that directive has is when workers comply.
Flight attendants are denying your back to work order. The government is also being accused of misreading the public mood.
Their decision to force flight attendants back to work so quickly actually inflamed the issue. It forced them to defy orders of government. It sort of really went against what I think the Carney brand is built on. And to many Canadians, that decision didn't really feel right.
The question is now whether other unions would react similarly if talks break down. And with Canada Post heading back to the bargaining table in its protracted dispute with postal workers, we could soon get that answer. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
Canada Post and the union representing postal workers are set to return to the bargaining table today. Plans to rekindle talks late last week were delayed because of a lack of federal government mediators. The union claimed labor unrest at Air Canada was pulling attention from the Postal Service's dispute, which has stretched on for more than a year and a half. Postal workers rejected the Crown Corporation's latest offer that would have included wage hikes of around 13% over 4 years and added part-timers to the workforce. Still ahead on CTV News at noon, Canadian filmmakers speak to the media today ahead of the 50th TIFF International Film Festival. Details coming up a little later in the newscast. Turning now to a deadly shooting in Brampton that killed one man and sent another to hospital. Peel police say the shooting happened inside a home last night and the victims were targeted. CTV John Musselman is live in Brampton with the latest on this. John.
Well, Nathan, a heavy police presence here in this neighborhood. As you can see behind me, Peel Regional Police have set up a command center. Now, we'll just show you some video. The location of this homicide is near Airport Road in Castlemore. It happened around 8:30 last night. It was raining at the time. Now, neighbors tell us that a number of shots were fired, at least 4. When police arrived on the scene here at a home on the street I'm standing on, they found 2 victims. One man was pronounced dead on the scene. Another man was taken to a trauma center. He has since, his injuries are not considered life-threatening at this point. Now, again, we have limited information about what's happening here, although police have said this appears to be a targeted situation. We have learned from neighbors that a car in the driveway of the same home was set ablaze about 2 months ago, and police were here investigating that. We don't know if there's any link between that and what happened here last night. We did have a chance to speak to some neighbors and police. Here's what they had to tell us just a short time ago.
It's very concerning. We're all scared, even my kids. I have a daughter, son. They all walk, mostly run in the area and jog, and even we go for a walk, so we are concerned.
This is believed to be a targeted, isolated incident, which means that we do not believe at this time that anyone else in the neighborhood should feel unsafe at this point, but we are urging anyone to check their cameras, check their dash cam footage, speak to officers that are canvassing the area with any concerns, and hopefully we can figure out exactly the circumstances happened surrounding this incident.
And Nathan, we can tell you that canvassing continues at this hour with investigators here talking to neighbors. Are also looking for any kind of surveillance video that might show what happened in the neighborhood last night. We did get information from one neighbor that a white car was seen fleeing this scene shortly after the shooting. We'll have much more on this on CTV News at 5 and 6. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, John. The funeral for an 8-year-old boy killed by a stray bullet as he lay in bed with his mother will be held today. Javay Roy was hit when shots were fired near their building on Martha Eaton Way around 12:30 a.m. on Saturday. Javay's mother says the bullet came through the window, striking and killing him. An obituary posted online says his funeral will be held on a First Nation on Manitoulin Island today. This comes as police continue to search for suspects. The Toronto Police Hate Crime Unit has arrested a suspect accused of making hate-motivated threats. On August 13th, investigators are alleging the accused sent email to several individuals and institutions containing threats of violence. They say one message in particular included hateful, racist, and xenophobic rhetoric of a threatening nature. 31-year-old Muhammad Ali was arrested this week and is facing several charges. Now, staying in the city, police with 14 Division are looking for a suspect in connection with an attempted murder investigation downtown. Early on the morning of August 8th, police allege a female suspect stabbed a victim after a physical altercation near Queen and Bathurst. They say that victim and a second one suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Investigators are now searching for 18-year-old Bruna Fernandez Martins of Toronto on charges including attempted murder and aggravated assault. Anybody with any information is asked to contact police or Crime Stoppers. The province is rolling out more of its promised strategy to protect Ontario from the impacts of trade tensions with the United States.
Today, we're announcing the next step of our plan with $70 million for training and employment services to protect Ontario workers. $20 million for this investment will go towards our new Protect Ontario Workers Employment Response Centers, or Power Centers. These centers will provide workers with immediate access to training and employment services, and we're doing this proactively so these centers are ready to go when workers need them. We're also putting another $50 million towards the Better Jobs Ontario program, which will provide funding for things like tuition, transportation, and childcare, so people can access training for in-demand jobs and get back to work as fast as possible.
The announcement follows a move last week by the province offering up to $1 billion in emergency financing to help businesses impacted by U.S. tariffs stay afloat. Meanwhile, the Ford government says changes are coming to a fund that's meant to spur home building in Ontario. The province's housing minister says he intends to extend and improve the Building Faster Fund. It rewards municipalities that hit 80% of their provincially assigned housing target. Some cities and towns have claimed the current model is unfair because they only control when projects are approved and not when construction starts. Only 23 of 50 municipalities with assigned housing targets hit their thresholds over the past year. All right, we have more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. Cloudy and a little bit cool compared to conditions that we've had for most of this summer. No heat alerts or warnings today, but temperatures will eventually go back up in a few days. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Nathan. Yes, it is mostly cloudy, cool, a little drizzly out there, too. But I do think I see the sun trying to peek through the clouds at this hour. That's certainly the case outside of the city. But yes, we do anticipate it's going to be a mostly overcast day. Still seeing some wet weather around Prince Edward County and the Thousand Islands. Otherwise, though, it's dry, except for that drizzle, which will be with us into the afternoon. Now, here's a look at something else we're dealing with today. A northeast wind, that's not going to do a whole lot to warm us up. That coupled with the cloud cover, that's inhibiting our warm up too. We're at 20 degrees right now in Toronto. It is a little humid. It feels like 25. You'll notice that many communities are still in the teens at this hour. So it is a bit of a cooler day. Here's what you can expect. We're not going to warm up too much from here. 21 is the forecast daytime high. But tomorrow, Nathan, is a brighter and a warmer day. We'll talk about that. And when we return to some summertime warmth, that's all ahead in your weather forecast. For now, back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. A Chinese duty of nearly 76% on Canadian canola went into effect last week. Ottawa has said it's considering measures to support farmers, but there's been nothing done yet. And today, Canada's industry minister was asked why.
I think that this is not a choice between one or the other. The question is, we will be there to support our canola industry. We will be there to support our farmers. And I know that the Prime Minister and the Minister of Agriculture have been working together to address this issue.
China is the largest export market for Canadian canola seed. It represents 67% of total canola seed exports, totaling 5.9 million tons in 2024. That was worth about $4 billion. Well, here at home, one of the wildfires that erupted in cottage country more than a week ago is now out. The Kirkfield fire has been extinguished. It erupted in the Kawartha Lakes region 9 days ago. Meanwhile, the Burnt River fire is still classified as under control, meaning there will be no further spread. A burn ban remains in effect for the city of Kawartha Lakes. Elsewhere, the Kingston fire remains out of control in Newfoundland. It covers an area of about 110 square kilometers. The Paddy's Pond fire, just outside of St. John's, is now listed as being held. The province estimates that just under 6,300 people have been evacuated because of wildfires. Security guarantees for Ukraine will be the focus during a virtual meeting of NATO defense ministers today. 32 defense chiefs are participating in the discussions. Kyiv's European allies are looking to set up a force that could backstop any peace agreement. And military leaders are figuring out how that security force might work. The United States has ruled out putting American troops on the ground in Ukraine, but it might provide air support as part of a deal to end Russia's war in the country. A state of emergency has been declared in North Carolina as Hurricane Erin churns north in the Atlantic.
Based on the current forecast, we are anticipating coastal flooding from massive waves, tropical storm force winds and tidal and storm surge for much of the state shoreline, especially the Outer Banks, from this evening through Thursday.
The emergency declaration frees up state money and resources to help during the storm and its afterward. The hurricane is hundreds of kilometers offshore, but is expected to trigger a dangerous storm surge and tropical storm conditions along the state's Outer Banks and other stretches of the U.S. East Coast. The hurricane appears to be on track to bring huge waves to eastern Canadian waters, but won't make landfall. In Sweden, a church that was being relocated in its entirety has arrived at its new destination. The church was moved this week along a 5-kilometer route as part of the town's relocation. It had to be moved because of an underground mine that was swallowing the land around it. But moving the church required a lot of effort. A major road was widened and a viaduct was dismantled to make way for a new intersection. But now the 113-year-old place of worship is at its new home and is set to reopen at the end of 2026. It's the end of a summer tradition for kids and parents, back-to-school shopping. But this year, many are keeping their eyes on the cost of things that kids need to start the school year. CTV's Janice Golding has more.
At the Scarborough Town Centre today, the focus was on back-to-school shopping.
I mean, I'm going to high school next year, so I was hoping to get some, be fresh, be ready for the next year. Maybe get a new backpack to hold all my knowledge. But yeah.
Some were out looking for bags to tote their belongings in.
Do you like your new backpack?
Yes.
While others were on the lookout for new outfits.
Of course, uniforms for the kids, because they always grow up so fast.
I think we're just, looking for some clothes, some refreshers.
I feel like most of the stuff I have is just summer clothes. I kind of grew out of the winter clothes, so I'm going to be freezing if I don't get anything new.
Okay, so you have an excuse to keep buying because you're still growing.
Exactly.
Still, all the back-to-school shopping can be pretty pricey.
You need a lot of things for school.
He's only one little boy.
I know.
So just how much do people tend to spend? Well, according to a new report from the Retail Council of Canada, there are close to 6 million students from kindergarten to grade 12 in our country, and their families tend to spend about $4 billion on back-to-school shopping. What that works out to is between $600 and $750 per child. There are ways to save, however, according to Nicole Showbrook, the Coupon Cutie, if you don't wait for the last minute.
If you look around and watch for the best deals, there's so many opportunities to save. There's this app called Flip, too, where you can look at all the flyers in one place.
And another thing to take advantage of.
Lots of times stores will have offers where you can earn points for buying things. And so right now there's a deal where at Superstore you can get $25 in points if you spend $100 on back to school stuff.
And you really don't need to break the bank.
I don't like shopping.
Because we know sometimes kids won't appreciate the effort.
So you don't want to get stuff for school, you want to get toys, Mom says?
No, I don't. But I want to get Beyblades.
That being said, a little family time can be invaluable.
You know what? It's been a long time, and she's much older, so it's just a chance to spend time together.
Janice Golding, CTV News.
Home Depot is warning consumers that they're going to end up paying the added cost of U.S. tariffs. Economic uncertainty fueled by the trade war has tamed spending habits for big projects. Now, the company says it'll fall short of its second quarter sales estimates. CTV's Queens Park Bureau Chief Janvia Boscheman has the details.
The cost of a run to Home Depot to spruce up your home is likely to go up as the renovation giant says all its markets will be affected. And the price hike comes as no surprise to the handy shoppers picking up paint and wood at their hardware store. Manuel Riela just built a shed.
Well, it makes sense that this is going to rise prices.
The announcement came out of Home Depot in the U.S., where half the store's inventory come from suppliers outside the country. Just 3 months ago, Home Depot said it would not add the tariffs to the price tag, but now it says the cost of some products across all its markets will rise. Economists say Canadian home renovators will feel the pinch because of the ripple effect.
Because large American retailers like Home Depot want to keep similar prices on both sides of the border. So as they raise prices in the United States, we're going to see that spill over up here into Canada as well.
The home renovation sector boomed during the pandemic. Profits for Home Depot soared. But in a new era of tariffs, the home renovation landscape has shifted, particularly in the U.S. In the face of uncertainty and interest rates, Americans are focusing on small projects and gardening, not major renos. Now in Canada, the cost of renovations has also been rising. Statistics Canada reported a 0.9% increase in costs last quarter. But economists say the situation between the U.S. and Canada isn't exactly the same for now.
Here in Canada, because borrowing has become easier, it's now much easier for Canadian families to afford medium-sized or even large renovation projects. So we've not seen the same impact.
Economists say it's probably a good idea to get to that long-delayed home renovation project, though, before prices get any higher. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
Well, we had a pretty good helping of rain yesterday. It may have impacted your Tuesday evening plans, but I think it was great for lawns and gardens everywhere. Let's bring you up to speed on how much rain there has been so far this month. In 2025, we're now at about 57 millimeters. This time last year, boy, oh boy, we had 168 millimeters. We're creeping closer to our monthly average. If you're hoping to get out on the greens this afternoon, perhaps for a round of golf, just be mindful of the fact that it's a little drizzly out there. It is a little cloudy and windy too. Bit of an early fall feel in the air, wouldn't you say? We are going to warm up a little bit heading into the weekend, but wait until you see the temperatures early next week. Bit of a pattern change for the rest of the month. Details after this break here on CTV News at noon.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
All right, time to talk about the forecast. Some people I noticed today out in shorts, other people wearing pants, some in light jackets, some in T-shirts. It seems like anything goes.
I think we're going to see a lot more of this in the next couple of weeks, not just because of what the calendar says. Of course, we're approaching end of August, beginning of September. I know, I hate to go there, but it's true. And yeah, the weather is going to reflect that a little bit. So we're getting a taste of early fall this week. Yes, we are going to warm up for those who are already missing the summertime heat. But the long-range forecast also shows signs that we could be below seasonal to finish off this month. Let's get to your forecast. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. Now, the majority of the rain that we saw fell last night as some showers continued into the overnight hours and early this morning. This was the Port Credit area early on. You can see it was pretty gloomy, pretty overcast. Still some beautiful flowers there. Love to see that. But yeah, a little drizzly as well. Not necessarily raining, but you might find that things are a little damp if you step outside, depending on where you are today. Overall, though, we are drying out. I wouldn't have blamed you for bringing the umbrella with you this morning. Hopefully you don't need it a little later on today. Our current satellite and radar shows that, again, it is dry in most parts of southern Ontario, with the exception of close to Kingston, Ontario, and in through Prince Edward County. We'll widen things out. There's all the rain that soaked us yesterday afternoon, evening, overnight as well. As we make our way through the next day or so here, we can expect drier skies and a return to some sunshine. So that's great news. Hey, see that creeping up from the bottom of the screen there? That's Hurricane Erin. So we're going to talk about that in just a moment and its impact on our weather here at home, not directly, but in a different way. I'll show you in just a moment. Let's talk about the possibility of more wet weather. There's about 6 o'clock today, so chance of showers. Notice how the cloud cover slips away as we make our way into the day tomorrow. Mix of sun and cloud for your Thursday, mostly sunny skies for your Friday, and the temperature is going to be nice and warm once again. So that's a great looking day. The weekend brings us similar warmth, but you may notice a bit of an increase in cloud for Saturday, and this front is starting to develop. We do have a chance of showers for both Saturday and for Sunday. So we'll talk about that in your 7-day coming up. Here we have Hurricane Erin. This is looking very impressive on the satellite and radar imagery. The storm itself has weakened in intensity, but you may notice just how big the storm is. It's actually widening, and that means that the wind field is expanding as well. So this is going to impact many people, perhaps not directly with a landfall, but storm surge expected today for the Bahamas, right up the U.S. East Coast, and for Bermuda as well. Here's how it looks to play out. So as early as today, storm surge, maybe even some localized flooding possible around North Carolina. There are states of emergency already in place. Erin is expected to re-strengthen to a Category 3, which would make it a major hurricane. Again, it remains offshore, but we might get some strong winds in through parts of Atlantic Canada. Maybe some rain as well, but again, for the most part, this storm, eventually becoming a post-tropical low, will make its way out to sea without too much of a landfall impact on any part of North America. But what I do want to point out is our upper air pattern actually gets influenced by the positioning of the location of Hurricane Erin. We are going to have this deep trough over the lower Great Lakes, essentially stuck in place. So for the early part of next week, that's going to mean another round of cooler temperatures. Right now we are at 20 degrees. It feels like 25. 21 is our forecast high for today, so not warming up too much from here. Your evening at a glance brings us mostly cloudy skies. 16 overnight, that is near normal. And then tomorrow, this is an improvement. 24 degrees, humidex 29. Your next 3 at the CNE looking like this. It's not a bad short range forecast. And then again, the long range shows chance of showers over the weekend. Look at Monday. Nathan, we haven't had a daytime high stay in the teens since June 13th. Could be a cool start to next week. That's the forecast for now. I'll send it back to you.
All right, good to know. Have the jackets ready. Well, September is just around the corner, and that signals the start of the 50th Toronto International Film Festival. Today, Canadian filmmakers that are part of TIFF are speaking to the media. And CTV's Andrea Case is live with more from the red carpet. Andrea.
Hi, yes, Nathan, I'm here at TIFF Lightbox, and we had dozens of filmmakers here today to talk about their films. And over the next little while, I'm going to be profiling many of them so you can hear about their films. Still kind of a cloud hanging over this festival, the fact that Barry Averich's film, The Road Between Us, as The Ultimate Rescue. There was an apology today that was made. Once again, the festival, Cameron Bailey, is apologizing for how they handled this film. This is a film, of course, about October 7th. And Barry wasn't here today. I did text him, and he said he's taking a few days away, so he wasn't able to be here today, but he will obviously be talking about his film. But so many other films to talk about at this festival. The excitement is building. TIFF at 50 is really a reason to celebrate. And one of the films I'm just going to talk about right now is a film that many people will be familiar with, the show they're familiar with, and that is Degrassi in all its iterations. There's going to be a documentary about it, and we spoke to the filmmaker behind it.
I'm a big fan of the OG, those early years, and she started from the beginning. And I think that watching her then 13-year-olds watch something so intently, it was pretty clear that, you know, it sort of stands the test of time. So the question was, you know, what's the future of it? And why not celebrate something that's 4 decades old?
Okay, I cannot believe Degrassi is 4 decades old because I was like 10 or 11 when it started. Anywho, the filmmaker's daughter is the one that said you should make a documentary about Degrassi, and now we have it. So TIFF starts on September 4th. We will be going nonstop covering this festival in all its iterations, all those carpets, so much to happen. Right now, though, Nathan, I've got a lot of studying to do. Tonight at 6 o'clock, we'll bring you a greater wrap of what happened today here at TIFF Lightbox. And as always, we've got you covered. CTV Toronto, I'm Andrea Case.
You have it covered so well every year. Thanks, Andrea. Well, there was a mix of excitement and confusion and then disappointment for partygoers at a Las Vegas nightclub when a surprise performance by Justin Bieber turned out to be a ruse. American DJ Griffin was performing inside the Wynn Hotel when he was told Bieber wanted to perform. Somebody came up to the mic and took the stage before the stunned crowd. But as it turns out, it wasn't actually the Canadian music superstar.
Wait, that was insane. We gotta talk. That was actually insane. Complete fake. No way.
I swear on my life.
I literally thought, like, I was like, damn, he, like, put on a lot of weight since the album dropped.
The Bieber doppelganger was actually 29-year-old Dylan Deklos, who even has the same tattoos as the pop star. He reportedly racked up a $10,000 tab, which he paid, but he's been banned from the casino for life. There you go. Well, still ahead, cutting the risk of kidney failure and cardiovascular disease. Health Canada approves the use of Ozempic for people with type 2 diabetes. We have the details. Health Canada has now approved Ozempic to reduce the risk of kidney decline among patients with type 2 diabetes. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has the details.
Craig Lindsay was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes 31 years ago and later developed the chronic kidney problems that so often accompany diabetes.
We underappreciate how hard it is living with a chronic disease. It's every decision. It's, do I have the energy to go for a walk? Am I making the right food choices?
That's why he recognizes the importance of making Ozempic or semaglutide injections available now for type 2 diabetes patients with high risk of kidney disease, and that could be millions across Canada.
Diabetes is probably the #1 cause of kidney failure. It's not a small subset. So in Ontario, for example, I think Diabetes Canada says 1 to 1.5 million people are living with diabetes, prediabetes, or undiagnosed diabetes. And of the people who end up in full-blown kidney failure, fully 40% of them are struggling to manage diabetes.
They're also at high risk of developing cardiovascular complications, including the risk of heart failure or accumulating salt and water in the body. And once patients have kidney disease, they're at an augmented higher risk of developing cardiovascular disease.
Researcher Dr. David Cherney says Ozempic won't restore lost kidney function, but it is effective in reducing future damage.
Patients have type 2 diabetes. They should be screened for kidney disease on a yearly basis at least.
Lindsay, who took insulin and underwent dialysis for several years before getting a kidney and pancreas transplant, says Ozempic is not for everyone. For example, patients with gallbladder disease or pancreatitis may not be able to use it, but it will be another useful tool in the effort to preserve kidney function for many. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
A group of cyclists departed this morning on a days-long ride to Montreal to raise money for pediatric cancer research. The cyclists took off from Sick Kids Hospital this morning as part of the 401 Bike Challenge. The goal of the nearly 600-kilometer mission is to help improve the care and treatment of children battling cancer and support their families throughout the process.
It's tough. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, it's first day is 188 to Belleville, and then the second day is Belleville to Cornwall, which is 260. And the third day is Cornwall to Montreal, which is 135. It's tough. But you know what? We tell ourselves that, you know, no matter how tough it feels for us, we think of the kids and we think about how much they, you know, the battles they face, which are a heck of a lot harder than whatever discomfort we have on the road. So we're happy to do it.
I get very emotional seeing that they are riding for a cause. They're raising money for children that are battling cancer. It's incredible to see a bunch of people come out from Montreal riding all the way back to Montreal for someone like my son, Hendrix, that just beat cancer.
The 401 Bike Challenge has raised over $3 million for pediatric cancer research since its inception in 2005. A record number of kids across Canada are turning to support programs to help them get through the school day without getting hungry. Breakfast Club of Canada is the country's largest school food provider. The organization says at least 1 in 3 children in the country are arriving at school hungry almost every day. And nearly 2.5 million children live in a food-insecure household, which represents a third of the children in the country. Well, Hamilton's medical officer of health says the risk of contracting West Nile virus from a mosquito is high after the first human case of the year is detected in the city. Health officials in Hamilton had previously considered the risk of contracting the disease moderate. Meanwhile, infectious diseases specialist Dr. Isaac Bogosh says most people who get infected do not show symptoms.
It's pretty easy to prevent. It just means you don't get bitten by mosquitoes by either wearing long sleeve shirt and long pants or putting on mosquito repellent. Pretty straightforward stuff. But, it's also important to remember, too, that West Nile virus the vast majority of people that get this infection actually have no symptoms. About 75% of people don't have any symptoms. The majority of people who have symptoms will feel a little crummy for a few days: fever, headache, muscle aches and pains, fatigue, but it gets better on its own.
Hamilton Public Health says it's currently conducting its third round of treatments to kill mosquito larvae in catch basins and bodies of water. The province is launching a new capital funding program that it says will help get more long-term care homes built. The Ministry of Long-Term Care says it'll shift from its old model of offering funding support based on a fixed cost per bed model. Instead, operators will be able to seek percentage-based funding to better address the differences in the cost of land and construction in different parts of Ontario. The province says the new model will make it easier to meet construction targets and build more long-term care homes as the population ages. Robots designed to look and move like people are being used to address critical challenges in hazardous industries. Now, forecasters suggest the robotics business is set to experience a boom. CTV's Spencer Turcotte has the details.
A quick stretch of the fingers.
The range of motion is incredible.
And these robots are ready to work.
A humanoid robot is a robot that matches the human form.
At Mercy Robotics in Cambridge, Tarek Rahim and his team have developed human-like robots that can do human tasks.
Everything is Mercy designed, and we're really proud of it.
Mercy says their robots are already addressing critical Canadian challenges like gathering data for remote First Nations water plants, providing support in aging care facilities, and filling essential roles in precarious industries.
These robots are going to tackle the repetitive, monotonous jobs. And most importantly, they're going to handle the backbreaking labor that humans should really not be doing.
Rahim says people shouldn't worry about the humanoids taking human jobs. They may replace some roles, but he says with any emerging technology, new job opportunities arise. That's backed by global humanoid robot market projections, which show it growing from $2.92 billion this year to $15.26 billion by 2030.
And those are the most conservative estimates, so I wouldn't fear too much about a dystopian future with no employment opportunities.
The robot moves around on wheels with the help of a joystick.
The reason we do wheel designs is because they're inherently stable. You cannot knock this guy over.
In the manufacturing sector, Canada ranked 12th in robot installations behind countries like the U.S. and Mexico. Yet Mercy says they have the tech to catapult Canada to the top of the world rankings, in an industry they believe will have the same impact as the automotive revolution. But above the impressive technology, they have the passion to match it.
In a way, it's the most rewarding feeling ever. So I imagine that's what having children feels like.
Spencer Turcotte, CTV News, Cambridge.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Back in the day, vehicles came with a full-size spare tire, but about 30 years ago, manufacturers moved to a smaller tire, sometimes called a donut spare. Now, depending on the vehicle you drive, you may not have a spare tire at all, and that's also true if you're renting a car. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert.
You kind of have this assumption, or at least we have the assumption, that there would be a spare tire.
Lisa Glass and her partner Matt Barber of Toronto recently spent 10 days in Newfoundland. They rented a car in St. John's to drive to Trinity. But along the way, they noticed one of the rental car's tires was losing air pressure.
It kept going down, and then overnight, that night, it completely lost pressure, and we woke up the next morning and the tire was flat.
They called the company they rented the car from but couldn't get a response, so they decided to change the tire themselves.
He went out to the trunk and opened it up, and there was no spare.
Glass feels if a car doesn't have a spare, the driver should be made aware of it at the time of the rental.
The last thing anyone wants is to be stuck on the side of a road in a remote area with no cell phone service, with no spare.
CTV News reached out to Budget Car Rental but did not get a reply. However, it does say on their website the manufacturer may not have equipped your car with a spare tire. It may have an inflator and seal kit, which you can use to temporarily address a tire leak so you can return to the nearest rental location. You should check the vehicle before you leave with the car. Glass says while the rental car did have a sealant kit, it was not enough to repair the tire. Along with inflator kits, a car may also have a smaller size donut spare, and some luxury cars may have run-flat tires, which allow you to drive about 80 kilometers to get help. It's not just rental cars. You should check your own car, too.
In an effort from the manufacturers to lower production costs and reduce weight for fuel economy, they're just leaving the spare tire out.
Glass says with the help of Good Samaritans, the car was towed to a shop, the tire was patched, and they were back on the road. But she wanted to warn others when renting a car, check if there's a spare.
I want people to know that when they rent a car, there's not necessarily a spare tire in the trunk.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
The Blue Jays will be without star Vladimir Guerrero Jr. again today as they wrap up their series against the Pirates in Pittsburgh.
Deep drive to center field, and it is gone.
George Springer with a 2-run home run in the second to give the Jays a 5-0 lead last night. Alejandro Kirk added another 2-run shot in the seventh, and the Jays beat the Pirates 7-3. Guerrero Jr. left Monday's game with hamstring tightness and missed yesterday's game. Chris Bassett gets the start this afternoon. That game began about 30 minutes ago. Meanwhile, the GTA is getting another professional lacrosse team. The Albany Firewolves franchise is relocating to Oshawa beginning next season. According to Albany media, many of the players already live in the Toronto area. The league says the team will keep its name for the upcoming season, and more details about changes to the brand will be unveiled over the coming weeks. Well, summer may not officially end for another month, but with summer break coming to an end soon, GO Transit is updating some of its schedules. Seasonal GO bus service to Canada's Wonderland and the Toronto Zoo will run for the last day this coming Sunday. Bus routes to post-secondary schools will then resume August 30th. Meanwhile, Metrolinx has boosted weekday GO train service on the Stouffville line. There's an additional train departing Union at 3:30 p.m. and another trip in the opposite direction at 5:40. Those times will shift on September 2nd as GO train schedules on several lines are updated to better reflect travel times. In the world of professional tree climbing, only one person truly comes out on top, and dozens of peak performers are gearing up to scale the championship ladder in a competition being held in Saskatchewan. CTV's Allison Bamford has the story.
Hard work under a hot summer sun. It's a short climb, 20 feet up, to cut down this dead spruce, a job that sometimes takes James Luchuk 85 feet off the ground.
Not everybody gets to kind of see that view every day, and it's an accomplishment when you do.
Now the professional arborist is chasing a new accomplishment, branching out to compete at his first prairie tree climbing championship. At the root of it, climbers scale up trees as fast as they can, participating in 5 different events that test their strength, agility, and techniques.
Competition is based a lot around just working situations.
Now in a few days, the trees in Kinsman Park will be filled with competitors from across the prairies, 45 of them trying to climb their way to the top of the podium in hopes of booking a ticket to the International Championship next fall. Many are training just by doing their jobs.
It's definitely strenuous. You're always constantly thinking. You basically get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
It's a feeling that's always worth it once the job is done.
Not everybody does this kind of work, but I love it. Once you kind of get to that top where you get to remove that top, you kind of get an exhilarance.
And Luchuk hopes to feel the same rush on the podium. Allison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
A new music festival is being held just outside Toronto this weekend. The Sunflower Garden Music Festival is described as a family-friendly, alcohol-free music and wellness event. It's being held on Saturday at Campbell's Cross Farms, just north of Brampton.
When I decided to host a festival, I really wanted to bring people outside of the city, stimuli and environment, and bring people into nature so we can get more grounded, reconnect to the power of music, and find new ways to connect around music. And why we're doing it alcohol-free is because of just that. It's shifting the culture around why we celebrate and how we choose to socialize.
The Sunflower Garden Music Festival runs from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturday. And just a reminder, still lots to do as the summer is not over yet.
Summer is not over yet. There's still lots to do. We still have time. We still have days and just over a week and a half, I believe, before most kids go back to school. And it looks like the weather is going to heat up again, so we're not done with the summertime heat either. Today, probably not a great example of that. Here's a look at our satellite and radar. Again, it is a mostly cloudy day. We've had sunny breaks in some areas. Looks like the cloud is filtering back in. Hopefully we see more in the way of sun. If we don't today, though, we will tomorrow. Overnight tonight, 16 degrees is the forecast low. That's near normal. 24 degrees will feel like 29 tomorrow afternoon with a mix of sun and cloud. Look at the sunshine for Friday. That's going to be a fabulous day. Up around 27 on Saturday as well, but with the chance of showers. Nathan.
All right, not bad. Thanks, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca. For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, thanks for watching. Have a great day. I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.